Hello, welcome to the M-Man channel. It is Thursday the 21st of August 2014, and I'm your host, Ant-Man. A little apathetic today, but I'm alright. I'm all here. All systems go. Gonna get back on it, try to be as active as I was before. I understand that there's a need for some people to have these things probably a little more clearly explained or whatever. I don't know. It always depends with me because whatever comes into my mailbox, I look it over, and I see lots of articles and stuff, but I pick the ones that I'm really good at explaining. So whatever it is that you're particularly into, just shoot me a message. Let me know what it is that you want to hear more about, whether it be in the Middle East or whether it be political, whether it be based on faith, whether whatever, you know what I mean? Just let me know, and I'll try, you know what I mean? Because most of the time I'm just picking and choosing what I like to talk about. So, but trust me, I could talk about a lot of things. But anyway, I got an article in front of me from ClashDaily.com. It's written by Karen Cerna, and it was written yesterday, I guess. Relevant history: the Pilgrims abandoned socialism. Shouldn't we? Well, I actually had to say this to someone yesterday because when we were fishing, he was trying to do things differently than what we were already catching fish, but he wanted to do something differently. And I told him, why would you want to? If it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it, right? So we live in a country that was founded based on these principles that are in the they're in the Constitution, and they're in the Declaration of Independence, all the founding documents. They're embodied in these things, and in the character of the founding fathers as well. So why did we leave those founding principles? Why did we leave what was already working and choose to rely on our lean on our own understanding, I guess you could say, and move away from the old working system into what we have now? Well, there's a lot of things that fall into place there, but most of the time, when people abandon learning from history in a way, when it comes to staying out of trouble, staying out of the whole man. When I was a little kid, and I was fascinated with Adolf Hitler. I don't know why. When I was a little kid, because I was like, that's freaking creepy, dude. Like, one guy almost took over the whole world, and I figured it out when I was a little kid that he had to brainwash an entire generation to do this. So when we don't learn from history, man, and we don't learn how to dismantle the weapons of the enemy, this is the kind of stuff that happens. The enemy always uses science. The enemy always uses indoctrination, trying to teach people history only his way, through his eyes and through his interpretation and his perspective, which can be perverted and not true. You see that going on today. And science, the political, the scientific dictatorships of times past have all been based off of a philosophy that has to do with science, that you've evolved, that we're trying to achieve the superhuman Superman, and this is what we call humanism. This is what we call believing that we are God. And these things are very dangerous ideologies, man, because way, 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 way after you're dead and buried, these ideas are going to live on, and they're going to influence another generation of people. So we have to push the Constitution. We have to push freedom and liberty and the Spirit of God. We cannot bow down to things that have failed and collapsed in the past, because these things are all, you know what I mean, fronts and frauds, and all these things are not real, and they're a lot of people are deceived by the lies because they don't acknowledge the historical facts that these things have been used in the past to oppress people. And it's the same thing going on today. It's like what Solomon says. It really isn't anything new under the sun. So I'm just going to get into this. While reading a book about the Pilgrims to my son, age 5, recently, I discovered that Plymouth Plantation was set up as a socialist communist society. What? This information was news to me. Not one history professor or high school teacher ever mentioned this. Isn't it funny that when you were in like the institutionalized government school, what we call public schools, that you didn't have any care in the world to learn there? I don't know about you, but I was normal like everybody else, and I got bored at school. I thought most of the stuff they taught you was pointless, and I just pretty much ignored everything. So I'm glad that happened because I got my education later, and that worked out for me perfectly. So you know what I mean? Some people have to go through that route, but you know what I mean? It's to me it's funny because when I did go to school, man, I learned a lot of what I look back at as just nonsense, man. No wonder I didn't when I was sitting in biology class that I was just kind of like, this is all stupid nonsense. I'm not going to use this ever in my life either. But as soon as I became a Christian, I started to read books, I started to love science and history, and I started to understand things through the right perspective. People will try to teach you whatever they want, but man, you got to know what the truth is. The truth is what should be your aim when you're looking at stuff. But anyways, let's see. I was always told they came for religious freedom, but I never remember anyone teaching that the colony was run in a socialist fashion when it was birthed. And trust me, I was a good student. I didn't miss this part of class because I was sleeping. It's funny that the atheists think that. I'm going to try to be nicer to the atheists, by the way, because I've been hearing. Who told me the other day that we should be nice to atheists, but he's right. The polarization, you guys, should be that, don't become what you're fighting. You might be polarized by so much opposition that you get today, but don't become what you're fighting. And don't become angry. Don't become bitter. Don't become bigoted like the hypocrites, because they don't understand what they even are talking about. For example, this is what I was getting into right now when I said I should be nice to atheists. They believe that the first century Christians, the apostles, were socialists because it blows my mind. It just blows my mind. The first century church had it right. You see, they were of one accord. I love it how Luke talks about it, because they were of one accord. They were of one mind and one spirit. Their ambition was for the Lord's will. Their servitude was all on the same level, and they wanted to meet each other's needs. What is the church? The church is not a building. The church is a group of believers and the body of Christ. So what Christians should be doing is what they were doing in the first century, which is that they met each other's needs. They were giving everything that they possessed as a collective, so that whenever somebody needed something, they had the provision there. They were more like, you know what I mean, focused in the matter of they were looking toward the needs and trying to serve others. And that's way better than what we see today. And that's not socialism. Socialism isn't even close to that. That is just I think a shallow and just narrow-minded way to even interpret that, because what makes somebody altruistic or philanthropic? What makes you that? Is that you're willing, not forced. You know what I mean? Like the redistribution of centralized government today. That isn't real altruism and true philanthropy. That isn't. Because giving should be something that you do willingly, not forced. That's somebody taking something from you and giving it to someone else. Like, that's the victim. That's the guy we're trying to help. And you know what, man? And I could go on about this and why there's so many lazy and unproductive people these days. People who don't care about anything real, that they're just all materialistic, but let's just get on with it. The best I can tell from reading I've done since this shocking discovery, this is indeed true. At the colony's inception, everything was put into a common pool and then distributed evenly. The reasoning for this is connected to the company that sponsored their journey to the New World, and this part of our history does not seem to be in debate. What is in debate is whether this lifestyle was the cause of their near extinction in the beginning. Did they almost starve to death because of a lack of motivation and hard work? Was the plan always to abandon this worldview, or were they genuinely experimenting with a communist lifestyle? Yeah, it's true, man. If you guys have ever heard the story of Thanksgiving, man, you guys will be blown away. The Thanksgiving was nothing short of a God-given miracle, man. I mean, you're talking about the Puritans that showed up here that almost died of starvation, and that they prayed for rain. And oh, man, and they had Thanksgiving with the Indians, and oh, the picture is so beautiful, man. I mean, I love the story of Thanksgiving. It's so amazing. But anyway, in my way of thinking, these questions are not fully relevant. Had communism in the New World been working, had it been a huge success, had everyone been working with a great motivation, had everyone been great or seeing great value in this way of life, they would have continued in their prosperity, but they didn't. They abandoned the way of life. The personal property was distributed, and then everyone was able to keep what they produced. The colony began to improve. The colonists began to work harder, and today we are now enjoying the fruits of their labor. The original Americans here, I guess you can say, they used to all have land and all plant crops. How do you think they became so wealthy, right? Now we got the Department of Agriculture, and I'll just stop there because I'll go on a rant. I go on rants all the time, and I need to knock it off because I could get through these articles much quicker that way. So anyway, the real question for me is, why is this information and even the debate over this part of our history withheld from the classroom? The best I can figure, this practice fits right in with the liberal agenda to make America communist. I don't know anyone that doesn't have great respect for the Pilgrims. I mean, who wouldn't respect a group of individuals who suffered so much to follow their personal convictions? You're talking about people who went on boats across the freaking ocean that brought the Geneva Bible. People that didn't know what the future was. I mean, these guys were nothing short of just heroes, man, right? But liberals and atheists, I guess they don't care about history. History doesn't exist because the past, we can make a whole scientific crazy nut job case out of it, like history never happened and this is all that there's ever been, and I can cite, you know what I mean? It's just, this is the kind of dopey thinking they have. And I have a friend, and I'm not going to mention his name because I'm embarrassed that I'm even going to mention this, but he watches so much Discovery Channel and stuff like that that he actually believes that this can all just be some guy in a mental hospital's imagination, and that we're not even here right now. He told me that there is no such thing as common sense. He literally told me that. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry, but if you're that stupid, that's embarrassing, man. Like, that's just like, man, that blows my mind that people are that dumb. But anyways, ugh. Wow. Sorry, man. I mean, that just, I try not to get discouraged when I hear stuff like that, because it's just like, what? Really? You need to stop watching TV, bro. I don't know anyone that doesn't have great respect for the Pilgrims, blah, 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 blah. I mean, who wouldn't respect a group of individuals? Something about convictions, whether you are liberal or conservative, everyone can appreciate the immense struggles these families endured in order to pursue their dreams. So it seems natural for those who are shoving communism down our throats to hide the fact that these brave men and women tried it and abandoned it. If more Americans understood this, then perhaps more Americans would wholeheartedly resist the liberal agenda. You can bet that I'll make sure my children understand this important part of our nation's history. And for those of you with children in public school, if you want your children to learn the truth, it is your job to teach them, since you know that the public schools in America no longer have any interest in such things. And if you think that's not true, then you're living in la-la land and you're a normalcy-biased yuppie. But anyways, God bless you. God have mercy on your soul. If you're not awake and you don't want to wake up, because you will wake up one day. It's not just. You know what I mean? I'm not living in an alternate universe where you know what I mean? Like, no, dude. I like what Ronald Reagan said, though. I don't believe in a future that'll happen no matter what we do. I believe in a future that will happen if we do nothing. But God bless you guys and have a good day.